For years, Sylvester Stallone and Bruce Willis were more than just action legends. They were brothers in arms. From Planet Hollywood to The Expendables, they built an empire on muscle, money, and mutual respect. But somewhere along the way, that bond shattered. Fans saw the tension spill into public view, and for nearly a decade, no one knew the full truth. Stallone stayed silent. Until now. What he finally revealed wasn't just about money or ego. It was about trust, disappointment, and the painful reality of friendship in Hollywood, from brothers in arms to business partners. Long before the headlines, before the tweets, and before The Expendables became a billion-dollar franchise, Sylvester Stallone and Bruce Willis were brothers, not by blood, but by survival. Both had built their names in an era when action heroes weren't born in front of green screens. They were forged through sweat, bruises, and long nights of self-belief. Stallone, the underdog who wrote Rocky in 3 days and refused to sell it unless he could star in it, and Willis, the wise, cracking cop who turned Die Hard into a cultural phenomenon, shared a deep, almost unspoken respect for each other. They understood what it meant to fight for a career that the world never expected them to have. By the early 1990s, their paths crossed in a very different way, not on set, but in business. Together with Arnold Schwarzenegger and Demi Moore, they co-founded Planet Hollywood, a chain that blended Hollywood glamour with restaurant entertainment. The concept was a goldmine. Fans could eat burgers surrounded by movie memorabilia from Terminator, Rocky, and Die Hard. For a time, it felt like the 3 most powerful action stars on the planet had united under one banner. The partnership was as symbolic as it was lucrative, proof that Stallone and Willis weren't just competing, they were creating something lasting together. Off-screen, they shared similar lives, fame, fortune, and family. Both were fathers trying to balance chaotic Hollywood schedules with home life. Both had endured broken marriages and the constant scrutiny of the tabloids. Their friendship was built on understanding, not words. At parties and red carpets, they were often photographed together, joking, smiling, teasing one another like old army buddies. Stallone once called Willis a guy who could make danger look charming. Willis, in turn, admired Stallone's relentless work ethic. When Stallone conceived The Expendables in 2009, he knew who he wanted by his side. The film wasn't just another action flick. It was a tribute to their generation of movie warriors. Casting Willis as Mr. Church was personal. It was a nod to their shared history, to the empire they had built decades earlier. In that first film, Stallone led the team of mercenaries, and Willis appeared as the enigmatic CIA agent who pulled the strings. It was short, sharp, and unforgettable, just enough to remind the world that these men still owned the screen. The movie's success was explosive. Earning over $274 million worldwide, it resurrected Stallone's career and reaffirmed Willis as a timeless star. The sequel in 2012 made even more money and deeper memories. On set, their chemistry was real. Stallone, the relentless leader, Willis, the calculating mastermind. For fans, it was like seeing old friends reunite for one last glorious mission. But beneath the smiles and handshakes, the foundation of their friendship was starting to tremble. What began as mutual admiration would soon be tested by ego, business, and the one thing that has destroyed countless Hollywood friendships: money. The million-dollar fallout. By 2013, The Expendables had become more than a movie franchise. It was a brotherhood, a monument to the old guard of action cinema. Sylvester Stallone wanted to make the 3rd installment bigger than ever, reuniting the legends one more time. Naturally, he wanted Bruce Willis back as Mr. Church, the CIA agent whose dry humor and sharp presence had tied the first 2 films together. It seemed obvious. Willis was part of the DNA of the series. But then came the negotiation that would turn friendship into feud. According to reports from The Hollywood Reporter, Stallone offered Willis $3 million for 4 days of filming in Bulgaria. For most actors, that was a king's ransom. But Willis declined. He wanted $4 million, $1 million more. The difference might have seemed small compared to their fortunes, but to Stallone, it was a matter of principle. He saw it not as a business disagreement, but as a betrayal. In his mind, this wasn't just a paycheck. It was loyalty to the project they'd built together, loyalty to him. On August 6, 2013, Stallone made a decision that shocked everyone. He announced publicly that Harrison Ford would be joining the Expendables 3. And that same day, he took to Twitter and wrote a message that would echo through Hollywood gossip columns for weeks: greedy and lazy, a sure formula for career failure. He didn't name Bruce Willis, but no one needed clarification. The timing said it all. Fans, journalists, and fellow actors immediately connected the dots. Within hours, entertainment outlets ran headlines calling it a public breakup between two action icons. Stallone had drawn blood in 140 characters. Behind the scenes, the fallout was immediate. Willis reportedly felt blindsided and humiliated. He had worked with Stallone for decades, from Planet Hollywood to The Expendables, and now their private argument had been broadcast to millions. Some insiders said Willis believed Stallone was using him as a scapegoat to generate buzz for the film. Others claimed Stallone felt that Willis had lost his fire, that he was showing up to sets for the paycheck, not the passion. Regardless of who was right, the damage was done. Stallone's tweet painted Willis as selfish, while others pointed out the irony. Wasn't Stallone the one constantly reviving old franchises for profit? Columnists called the tweet unprofessional, accusing Stallone of hypocrisy. But the man who created Rocky and Rambo didn't care about optics. To him, this was personal. "You can forgive a lot in life," a friend later quoted Stallone as saying, "but not greed from someone you called family." Harrison Ford replaced Willis. The film went on, but the camaraderie that had once defined The Expendables was gone. For the first time in years, the brotherhood Stallone built had a hole in it, and it was shaped like Bruce Willis. The silence between them grew colder with every passing month, but time, as it always does, would eventually force both men to confront what really mattered and what didn't: regret, silence, and reconciliation. When The Expendables 3 wrapped production in 2014, the air between Sylvester Stallone and Bruce Willis was colder than ever. Two men who had once shared laughter, late-night phone calls, and business ventures now existed in separate worlds, divided by pride, ego, and a single tweet that couldn't be unsent. For months, neither spoke publicly about the feud. Hollywood insiders whispered that Stallone had no interest in repairing what was broken, while Willis quietly focused on his own projects, refusing to comment at all. But beneath Stallone's tough exterior, the one that had built legends like Rocky Balboa and John Rambo, there was guilt. Friends close to him later revealed that he regretted how public the feud had become. He wasn't proud of lashing out. He had always respected Bruce, and deep down, he knew their fight had been about more than money. It was about hurt feelings, about two men too proud to back down. Then, months later, in a moment no one expected, Stallone did what few Hollywood stars ever do. He publicly admitted he was wrong. On the same platform where the feud had erupted, he tweeted, "Made up with Bruce Willis, a stand-up guy. My mistake." There were no PR statements, no press conferences, no staged photos, just 12 words that carried years of weight. Fans flooded social media with relief. It felt like the two icons of action cinema had finally buried the hatchet. For a brief moment, it seemed as if the story had come full circle. Two aging warriors who had fought their battle and found peace. Though they never appeared together on screen again, mutual friends confirmed that Stallone reached out privately. The two exchanged calls, reminisced about Planet Hollywood, and even joked about the tweet that nearly ended their friendship. "That's life," Stallone reportedly said to a friend. "You live, you learn, and sometimes you lose good people before you realize how much they meant." Years passed quietly. Stallone dove into Creed in 2015, winning a Golden Globe and earning another Oscar nomination, his first in 40 years. Willis, meanwhile, took a quieter path, appearing in smaller films and supporting young directors. Then, in March 2022, Hollywood received devastating news. Willis's family announced that he had been diagnosed with aphasia, a neurological disorder that impairs the ability to speak and understand language. The statement confirmed what many had suspected. Bruce Willis was retiring from acting. When Stallone heard the news, his heart broke. In an interview with The Hollywood Reporter, he spoke softly, a rare vulnerability from the man known for unbreakable toughness. "Bruce is going through some really difficult times, so he's been sort of incommunicado. That kills me. It's so sad." The man who once called Willis greedy and lazy now called him a fighter, a true friend. On Instagram, Stallone shared old photos of them together and wrote, "We go way back, praying for the best for you and your wonderful family." Years of rivalry faded into something purer, compassion. Pride had given way to pain, and anger had turned into affection. For Stallone, the feud that once defined them no longer mattered. What remained was an unspoken truth, that even the strongest men are fragile when it comes to friendship, and sometimes the hardest battles are fought not on screen, but within the heart, when pride meets pain. Looking back, that one tweet, greedy and lazy, a sure formula for career failure, wasn't just about money. It was about something deeper: pride, exhaustion, and the emotional scars left by decades of survival in Hollywood. Sylvester Stallone and Bruce Willis weren't just actors. They were products of hardship. Stallone had grown up in Hell's Kitchen, a world of noise and hunger, his face partly paralyzed since birth. Every success he earned was carved from rejection. Bruce Willis, born on a military base in Germany, was the son of a blue-collar mechanic who moved his family to New Jersey. Before fame, he worked as a security guard and a bartender, dreaming of a role that could change his life. That dream came true in the mid-1980s with Moonlighting, and later, Die Hard, turning him into an overnight star. Both men had clawed their way from the bottom. Both knew what it meant to fight for survival. By the time the Expendables franchise came around, they were no longer the hungry newcomers of the 1970s and 80s. They were living legends, carrying decades of pressure, expectations, and silent fears of fading relevance. For Stallone, The Expendables wasn't just a blockbuster. It was a defiant message to Hollywood. We're still here. Each casting choice was personal. Each returning actor a reminder of a time when they ruled the world. So when Willis pushed for an extra $1 million, Stallone didn't see it as business negotiation. He saw it as disloyalty. To him, The Expendables represented brotherhood, not bargaining. But Bruce Willis was different. He was pragmatic, practical, perhaps even tired. After decades of risking his body, his reputation, and his personal life for film after film, he saw his worth clearly. Maybe that extra $1 million wasn't greed. Maybe it was principle, a final stand for self-respect in a business that had already taken too much. The painful truth is that both men were right and both were wrong. Hollywood breeds rivalry, ego, and insecurity no matter how much success you've earned. Fame doesn't protect you from fear, it amplifies it. Stallone once said in an interview, "People see the hero, but they don't see what it costs to stay one." That line summed it up perfectly. The fight between them was never truly about money. It was about two aging warriors struggling to hold on to dignity in a business that moves on without mercy. Then came 2022. When the world learned about Bruce Willis's aphasia diagnosis, the anger vanished instantly. For Stallone, pride dissolved into heartbreak. The man he once saw as stubborn and ungrateful was now trapped in silence, losing the very thing that defined him, his voice. "It kills me," Stallone confessed. "It's so sad." It was as if time itself had delivered the final lesson. Even the strongest men fall, and in that fall, forgiveness becomes the only way forward. In that silence, Stallone found peace, not just for Bruce Willis, but for the part of himself that once couldn't let go. Legacy and the final bond. Today, Stallone is 79. He continues to act, direct, and paint, channeling his restlessness into art. Willis, now 70, lives quietly surrounded by his wife, Emma Hemming Willis, and their daughters. His family occasionally shares videos, moments of warmth, music, and love, reminders that even as his words fade, his spirit hasn't. Their story, from Planet Hollywood partners to Expendables co-stars, from friends to rivals and back again, mirrors Hollywood itself, brilliant, messy, and painfully human. When Stallone finally confirmed the truth about why he refused to work with Willis again, it wasn't about contracts or casting. It was about how betrayal feels when it comes from someone you once called a brother. But time softens even the hardest hearts. And when illness stripped away everything else, fame, power, pride, what was left was respect. Stallone now speaks of Willis not as a former co-star, but as a man he loves and misses. "We've been friends for so long," he said quietly. "He's a true fighter. I just hope he keeps fighting. Hollywood often celebrates rivalry, but it rarely celebrates reconciliation. This story, however, ends with both. Two men who once ruled the world of action movies, brought down not by enemies or critics, but by the passing of time itself. Sylvester Stallone and Bruce Willis built an era, broke it, and somehow found peace within it. Their friendship was marked by ego, loyalty, and loss, but also by forgiveness. And maybe that's the hardest lesson of all. Do you think Stallone was justified in standing his ground, or should he have handled it differently? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more stories from Hollywood's most unforgettable legends.